let's talk for just a minute to Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Hey, Dean.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How's it
been
going,
a very
brother?
interesting show, to say the least.
Yeah?
For us too, Dean.
Do you believe in giants?
Do I believe in giants?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry, Dean's an apologist.
I believe in. It depends on what somebody would define as a giant. As a giant, 10 foot tall, 35 feet tall.
Yeah, not minute
37
ball,
feet
right?
tall, to be precise.
There you go. So between Truth Wanted and Talk Heathen, it's been a wild ride the last several shows there over at the ACA.
We don't have too much time. What do you want to talk about?
Gotcha. So what evidence would either one of you need to believe in God again?
Totally depends on the claim. So I would say that if you give me a God that has very simple characteristics to show, then you are able to show those characteristics, then I would believe it. If you...
God of the Bible.
Yeah, there's a lot there, man. I think there are tons of things that you would have to show are possible before I can determine whether or not they're probable.
And let me jump in. And by the way, I agree 100% with what Eric says, but God of the Bible doesn't help, because there are thousands of sects of Christianity. They're all reading the Bible and they all believe that their God is the God of the Bible. Right. So I don't think that's a singular answer, right? Like some people can read the Bible. No, let me say this first and then we'll hit. Some people read the Bible and come away and go to super inclusive pro LGBTQ churches that are doing a lot of good right now. Some people read the Bible and come away as hateful monsters that think the primary message of the Bible is that, sodomy is a sin. And so like they're reading the exact same text. So what do you mean by God of the Bible?
Gotcha. So I mean Anselm's definition of God.
But that's not the God of the Bible, right? Now we're in the God of the philosophers, though. That's a totally different question, right?
Anselm based his definition, or Anselm grounded his definition for the highest conceivable being based upon what he read in the Bible, the attributes of God.
Sure. So let's be clear. I'm not saying that Anselm's GCB is incompatible with the Bible. I'm saying that it is a subset of the Bible. So and this is direct to your question in terms of proof. Does your conception of God include heaven and hell?
Well, it would include heaven and hell, but I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm trying.
But that's not. But notice, right? But that's not. Hold on. You got to do. You got to let me come in. Anselm's conception of the greatest conceivable being does not include with it a correlative obligation to believe that there is eternal torment or eternal reward. Right. So in other words, when you're doing that, I don't think you're doing this deliberately. I believe that you were an honest interlocutor here. It's why I stopped and why I'm asking the questions. The level of proof I would need to believe in Anselm's God is different than the level of proof I would need to believe in a God that created a place of fire for burning all eternity people that don't believe in him. Does that make sense to you, at least?
Right.
Okay,
no,
cool.
That makes sense to me. What I'm simply referencing is Anselm's core definition of God as far as the greatest conceivable being. That is still
right. But do you see God? But no. Then this is why it's important, because I see this move a lot. You could prove, quote unquote, Anselm's greatest conceivable being, and then it would still not prove the God of the Bible. It would prove something compatible with the God of the Bible, perhaps. It would prove a subset of the God of the Bible, but you started with the God of the Bible, and Anselm doesn't get you there. Can we agree on that at least?
Sure. I'll just
Cool.
for the sake of the conversation, I'll agree on that.
Well, I don't think this should be.
nailed
No.
down.
I'm sorry. I'm a lawyer. Can't let you get away with that. This is not for the sake of the conversation. It's a different. It's Anselm's God has fewer characteristics than the God of the Bible, right?
Well, he might have fewer things that he's created with regards to heaven and hell, but that doesn't mean that his core properties are different.
Is Anselm's God jealous?
I do not know.
No.
Because I
The
don't
answer
know
to
what
that is no.
Anselm says about it. Okay, fair enough. So let me rephrase the question then. What would it take?
I muted myself. No wonder. I was like, dang, Dean is just talking.
I saw Eric. I saw your lips moving, and
Yeah.
and I stopped because I didn't want to be talking over you, but I couldn't hear
You know
anything.
what? Honestly, yeah.
Well,
What I was gonna say, what I was saying while I was on mute was, Dean, you're asking us what convinces us, or what would convince us. And so, if you were to bring the Anselm God up, right? Andrew said it perfectly. There are far less things that you would need to demonstrate. You would still need to demonstrate them, but there are less things needed to demonstrate that definition than the one that classically, I was taught about when I went to church, right? And do I think that God's the same as the one that you conceive of? No. I think your definition of God is definitely different from the definition of God that was taught in my church. But if we're not going to get hung up on the little nuances, which one do you want us to talk about? Do you want us to talk about the God who is the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the one who said to sacrifice Abraham's son, the one who told Moses to build a boat? Do you want to talk about that God, the God who said, I am that I am, who is described in the Old and New Testament? Is that the God you want to talk about, or do you want to talk about Anselm's God?
Okay, I'm trying to nail down and just say, okay, what we generally think about when we think about the standard definition for the God of Christianity that most people are familiar with, might have different ideas about, but most people are familiar with. What would you need as far as evidential proof or not evidential proof, evidence to say, all right, that God exists, I'm now at least a theist?
Sure. I think you would need to show that the claims made about that God are possible, and then we can determine whether or not it's probable. So I would want to see miracles, because miracles are talked about in the Bible. I would want to see, if you're literally interpreting the Old Testament, I would want to see archaeological evidence of a lot of the claims that are made there. I would want to see bread and fishes multiply. I would want to see the Red Sea part. I would want to see, evidence that the entire world was covered in water for a great flood, or any of those things. I would want to see things that back up the claims. And then as you make the claims, then I could go, okay, there's one more piece. And as you go along with pieces, then I would be following you along with it. But I think that I would be putting the cart before the horse if you gave me 5 examples and I took those 5 examples and said, okay, I'm taking everything else. Because is there a possibility, Dean, that I could list out all of these attributes for God and one of those attributes not be correct? Right? If that's the case,
I'm sure that it's possible, yeah.
Sure. So I mean, if you want to talk about a maximally powerful God, who is maximally, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, yada yada yada, and I also added maximally smelly in there, right? I then you would go, well, you got most of it, but actually, I really want to talk about the smelly one. Let's address that. It's such a large set of claims that you got to go through those claims for us to.
Yeah, and building on that, and you can ignore this because Eric asked a great set of questions. But the subset that I would like to focus on, Dean, would be the idea of eternal punishment and eternal reward, right? Because I gotta tell you, Eric has listed a lot of stuff that I think is, you know, sort of in the background of like when you read the Bible, like you clearly read from the beginning of Genesis, like a God that created a flat earth with a dome on it, with stars painted on it. It almost nothing in the Bible seems to match up with reality. Maybe we could get past the evidence on that. But even if we did, I would have a hard time believing that the creator of the universe has designed a place of infinite torture for people that don't agree with him. And
I agree with you, Andrew.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It doesn't say that God's not an asshole. It's nothing that doesn't say anything about the character of the God. And in fact, God says, "I am a jealous God. Worship no others but me." I disagree with you, sir.
All right. Well, let's take that. But so I'd like to know from Dean. Dean, do you believe? No, because this is great. We'll get a three-way. Dean, do you believe in hell?
I do believe in hell.
Okay. So do you believe in hell as a place of eternal conscious torment?
I do. Now, before you follow up,
go ahead.
The original question was, what would you guys need? And you were setting that out. And so I just like to follow up
I'm trying
to talk about hell.
I get it, but for me to answer that, I need to figure out what is a part of this hell claim, right? Because the more extravagant your hell is, the more evidence I'm going to need for a God that would set up such a thing, right? And Eric indicates it might be different, right? So let me ask, right? So what you're saying is, right? And let me also ask a cosmology question. We're not going to go down the creationism rabbit trail. Do you accept the scientific age of the Earth and the universe, right? That the Earth is about 4.8 billion years old. The universe is, I think, 13.7 billion years old. Do you accept to that? If not, it's fine. I just want to know for example purposes.
No, I personally believe the account of Genesis.
Okay, so you think the Earth is
as of right now? Wait,
I'm not going. Believe me, we do not have the time left in the show to do Old Earth, Young Earth. It's only for my.
No, I don't want to do Old Earth, Young Earth. I'm just trying to get an answer in, and I get.
So you're saying, you're saying Young Earth 10,000 on the order of 10,000 years, right?
I would say that I take the text as literal, but I also believe that is in the classification of a miracle as well.
Got it. That's not important. No. Here's what I want to say to you.
That's fine.
So is it your belief? First, is it your belief that Eric and I as atheists are going to hell?
As much as I love you guys, yeah.
Got it. So now,
I mean, I would have to be consistent. I say that I believe in hell. I have to be consistent on that.
Good.
But I'd really like to get back to my follow-up question.
No.
We don't have time for follow-up this time.
I got to figure out the hell first. So I'm sorry. Eric? What did you say? Do I need to stop?
Yeah, we're running a little late. We need to have more conversation. Yeah. It doesn't just.
Okay. We've got my time. Can I leave him with the one thing then? Yeah. All right. So Dean, I just want to ask: it is your belief Eric and I go to hell, and then let's say Eric and I spend 1,000,000 years in hell. Okay, that is 10,000 times the age of the universe as you believe it. Right? That'd be 1 billion years. Fine, we spend 1 billion years in hell. We spend 10,000 universes worth of time in hell for the 80 or 90 years that we practiced unbelief on this earth. And at no point does your God look down and go, 1 billion years in the lake of fire is okay for Eric, right? Like it's time to let him out now. It's time to let Andrew out. 1 billion years is okay for not being convinced of the existence. Cool.
Can I get one follow up in, and it's very short, and there's a lot to the question that you've raised or the statement that you've raised. I'll just say this.
We can take it off.
I believe that that's justified, but there's more to it than just me saying it's justified. And if you give me your contact info, email or something like that, love to get in contact with you and talk to you about it.
Cool. All right. That said, Dean, it's good hearing from you, man. Take it easy.
Hey, you too. All right. Bye.
Sorry.
That's okay. Dean actually is an interesting character. He's an apologist who has come to Austin and actually slept on my couch.
Oh, nice.
I had him on my personal channel for a discussion, and we're planning on a debate actually. I think in February of next year in Tennessee. So
excellent,
fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got more callers, and I also want to go to Discord and talk to people. So before we do that, I do have a couple things to say. Number one, our crew is amazing.
Yeah, they are.
They have been working so hard to get all of our programs out. I see just them rotating through the shows. Look at that. That is what's going on in the back at the ACA. No one is there because they can't be. They're all working remotely from home, and you actually have them. It's incredible. They're operating those things remotely from home so that they can make this happen with a pretty significant delay, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much to our crew. Andrew, dude, I've wanted since the beginning of this show to have you on.
But do you regret it now is the question.
No, I didn't talk as much as I normally do, and that probably made the show better. But I've got to say, man, I love your podcast, Opening Arguments. If anybody hasn't checked it out, they absolutely should. I am a fan, and I will continue to be a fan, and I hope to have you back on Talk Heathen soon.
Anytime. I am a fan of yours, and so anybody who's joining us late, the reason I'm here today is because I was listening last week and said and sent you a text message. I was like, I'm so so I love what you're doing, and so many times in this you took the words out of my mouth. So good work, man.
Love it, brother. Love it. Actually, let's get things started. So I know you listen as a podcast, but we do love rings. Let's see if I can get it. Ready?
All right.
Oh,
beautiful. That is a chef kiss.
Mwah. That is with a delay. That is, this signal got sent to the ACA, which got sent remotely over to Mark, who's in a different part of Texas. And that just lined up beautiful. Mark, mwah, beautiful. So it's not just to those who believe and don't believe. We're going through a pretty serious time right now. And I just want to say, please be safe. Practice social distancing. Wash your hands. We want to be together as we get through this. And the only way we're going to do it is if we can, as a society, work together. And, for those of you who are on the front lines, who are in essential service, those of you in the medical field who are going through hell right now, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Thank you for everything that you're doing. We sincerely, truly appreciate it. I actually recently saw a episode that my friend Holy Kool-Aid put out. He had someone who was, I believe, on the National Advisory Committee for the CDC and was one of the creators of the rotavirus. Not the vaccine for the rotavirus. It can make you wear your drink there. And they talk a lot.
Coffee on my shirt.
So I've been sending that link out to family, but if you haven't checked it out, that is definitely a good video to watch. It's got a lot of good information from an expert. But for those of you who don't believe,
we don't hate you.
No. For those of you who don't believe, this is your community.
Yeah.
Andrew's part of it. We're really, really happy to have it. We're really happy to have you. And just like that gentleman who called in earlier, who wondered, can you still be Jewish? Yes. Yes, you can. There are a lot of cultural Jews. And there are a lot of Jewish atheists. And you don't need to forego your culture. You don't need to stop doing those things that you love, and celebrating the people that you love because you think that it's owned by religion. It's the same reason why so many people think, charity and kindness, helping the homeless, that kind of stuff, that's all within the domain of the church. And that's bullshit. We need to show that community is something that is all of ours. It's not just belonging to the church. I mean, I looked in the live chat and right at the beginning, people were saying, oh, time for atheist church, right? It's so deeply ingrained, the idea that community is owned by religion. And it's time we stop that. And it's time we show that we can do better without God and that we can solve human problems with human hands.
And that's a big shout out to everybody who is considered an essential worker right now. And I think we are realizing just how important the cashiers and baggers at the grocery store are right now, who are, literally putting themselves on the front line, the fast food drive-through, the chefs and cooks and prep cooks and people who clean the kitchens and, people that,
for pennies who are getting paid less, often less than what it takes to survive.
Yep. And our society would have crumbled to a halt without this. So thank you sincerely for that. And, maybe we refer to you as essential workers from here on out.
That said, we got a lot of love rings going out. So that was for everyone. That was for those who don't believe. But for those of you who do believe, we don't hate you.
We don't hate you. We just think you're wrong.
See you next week. Andrew, thank you so much, man.
Oh, man.
Are we moving to Discord?
I jumped the gun. I was so nervous about getting the catchphrase right.
You were great. Love it. I love it. So good.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.